Are you a victim of dating dysmorphia? Hi there, men's dating coach HarryWilmington here, founder of IntrovertDatingSuccess.com. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about dating dysmorphia and the way that it misconstrues your viewpoint of yourself and how it affects your dating life. If you're watching this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified of when I post up new daily videos. Also, go to the website to check out my free video training, How to Get Attractive, Feminine, Emotionally Stable Women Dying to Respond to Your First Messages on Dating Apps Without Using Sleazy Pickup Lines, which will give you key secrets to sparking attraction and conversations with women online the smart way. Let's get into it. So, you may have heard of a condition called body dysmorphia. And I did a bunch of research that I'm going to read to you guys and talk about today about dysmorphia in general. But I wanted to talk to you guys today about dating dysmorphia. And dating dysmorphia is probably a term you've never heard of because, honestly, I just made it up. But it aligns very well with the various symptoms and consequences of body dysmorphia, okay? So what I want to do first is give you a brief overview of what body dysmorphia is, and then tell you about what dating dysmorphia is and how that affects your viewpoint of yourself and your dating life in a negative way, okay? So for those of you that are not familiar with body dysmorphia, I'm going to read this definition. Body dysmorphia disorder is a mental health disorder in which you can't stop thinking about one or more perceived defects or flaws in your appearance, a flaw that appears minor or can't be seen by others. But you may feel so embarrassed, ashamed, and anxious that you may avoid many social situations. So what this means with body dysmorphia basically is that it's when people basically see things about themselves either in an intense way or they are unable to see things. So for example, let's say you're a skinny person that over time starts to gain weight. You may not really realize that you're gaining weight. And as you get bigger, you still see yourself as that skinny person. The opposite is also true, whereby you may be a bigger person that as you're losing weight, you still see yourself as a big person. It can also come in situations where, you might see, your nose, you might think it's a little bit bigger than other people's, but you see it where it's extremely big, or you see a mole in your face, or you see some kind of basically any kind of body situation that you have a high critique of. You see it as either being larger than life or you don't see it at all, despite the fact that it is actually affecting your life in a negative way, okay? And so in any one of these situations, you're not seeing the real picture of whatever it is your body is, Continuing on, it says, when you have body dysmorphia, disorder, you intensely focus on your appearance and body image, repeatedly checking the mirror, grooming, or seeking reassurance, sometimes for many hours each day. Your perceived flaw and the repetitive behaviors cause you significant distress and impact your ability to function in daily life. You may seek out numerous cosmetic procedures to try to fix your perceived flaw. Afterward, you may feel temporarily satisfied or a reduction in your distress, but often the anxiety returns and you may resume searching for other ways to fix your perceived flaws. So this is a situation whereby you perceive certain flaws to be there and you figure the best way to cure them is to do these outrageous things, whether it's, like they said, body procedures, etc., which may temporarily cause you to feel good, but then over time, that's going to go away and you're going to continue to feel bad and continue to seek out ways to try to feel better despite how much your body is probably just fine or might need a little bit of work by exercise or whatever. So I looked up body dysmorphia because I wanted to create a definition for you guys of dating dysmorphia, because I recognized that much in the same way that you can have body dysmorphia, whereby you see these perceived flaws and you make them bigger than life to where they can actually hinder you. For those of you that have maybe either not had a girlfriend before, been in very, very few relationships, or the few relationships that you've been in have been a catastrophe and not gone well, you may actually have a warped sense of yourself in terms of what your status is in the dating market. And so I came up with this definition of dating dysmorphia, which I believe will help you. And so what I have defined dating dysmorphia to be is a dating disorder in which you can't stop thinking about one or more perceived flaws that causes you to see yourself as a less than perfect dating candidate despite the evidence around you. So, for example, Let's take me back in the day. I was teased mercilessly in 6th and 7th grade. And then as I got into high school, I was very nervous around women. And I was kind of a, we'll say, weird kid. I liked running around the hallways and making up funny, random, weird jokes and got into interests that at the time weren't as interesting to other people. And so I was classified as the weird kid. Okay. And so that classification I carried with me throughout the remaining high school years I had, as well as my college years. And because I was perceived as weird and called weird, I took on the mantle of I'm this weird guy that nobody can relate to. And unfortunately, I also took that into the dating realm, whereby I would say to myself and to others, well, I'm a weird guy, so of course women aren't going to want to date me because I'm just too strange. So that was my perceived image of myself. I was less than perfect, and therefore I'm weird, I'm strange, I'm odd, so I'm a less than perfect dating candidate. So because I had that in my head, and that was my viewpoint of myself, anytime there are women that would actively try to show interest in me, my first thought was honestly, A, it's not happening, and B, even if they were possibly interested, once they get to know how weird I am, they're not going to want to stick around anyway. Therefore, it's not worth trying to pursue this possible option that is coming towards me. Because I had dating dysmorphia. And even as I got into my it really wasn't until my late 20s that I started to realize, hey, it's not necessarily that I'm weird. I might just have different interests than the average guy, but I'm still a guy that is worthy of being attracted to, as evidenced by the fact that by that time, I was starting to recognize that, oh, women are actually attracted to me and don't mind hooking up with me, don't mind being my girlfriend. But it took until my late 20s to get out of that headspace. And the reason that was because I had dating dysmorphia. I had a perceived idea of myself. I thought that I had these various flaws, whether it was I was too skinny, I didn't have enough muscle on me, or I had interests that were outside of the norm for what women would perceive as normal enough to want to go out with. And so that thereby I locked my own self out of the dating market. And it wasn't until I was able to recognize this and start saying more positive things to myself and being able to recognize the world around me and that there were women that wanted me, that I was able to kind of let some of that stuff go and get rid of that dating dysmorphia. Okay. Continuing, it says, your ideas of yourself based solely around previous encounters with women may result in a low self-image and lack of confidence, and impact your ability to date the women you truly desire. So yes, you might have been that kid, that introverted kid in middle school, high school, and college that really didn't have a lot of women attracted to them, or if you did have girlfriends or women that you were dating, it wasn't a positive experience. And so those early dating experiences really can stick with you into your more adult years, whereby you are now a completely different person in your late 20s, early 30s, but you still have the feelings of that time of how you were dating when you were in your teens and early 20s that wasn't so positive. So now you're at a point where, especially men, as we get older, women find us more attractive. They find our gray hairs attractive. They find the fact that, you could have a dad bod and somehow that's still attractive. But yet and still, you might still be thinking, oh, but I'm not where I need to be, because you're basing it off of who you thought you should have been in your 20s. But women that are trying to date you now want you as you are now. But again, your ideas about yourself because of those previous encounters has resulted in, lower levels of self-esteem, to whereby you don't even feel like you are worthy of even trying to date, despite that there are women coming to you. Okay. Furthermore, further the definition, I said, you may seek out women occasionally to feel desirable, regardless of if you like them or not, to feel temporarily satisfied, but the self-doubt and anxiety results in self-sabotage, so that way you can realign yourself with the belief that no woman will ever truly want you. So what all this means is basically this. You might be a guy that's like, okay, I can't get the woman that I want in my life, so I'm just going to settle for whatever. And so you settle for whatever, even if you I don't really feel something for them, but your ego's but I need to be able to prove that women want to actually date me. So you'll start dating a girl that you just don't care about, or it's well, you care to some extent, but it's not, it might be a 6 or a 7, but it's not the 10 that you really, really want. But then even with that kind of woman, your self-doubt's going to kick in. You're going to have anxiety. You're going to start thinking that maybe she ultimately is too good for you, despite you initially thinking otherwise. And then you're going to end up doing things to sabotage that relationship. Or worse, let's say you accidentally slip up and you end up getting with a woman that you actually thought you want to get. One, it's a high 10. She's got a great job. She looks great. She's nice to everybody. You're going to start throwing self-doubt at yourself, thinking, well, I don't really deserve her, or she's just dating me to pity me, or I must just be the holdover guy until she gets to the guy that she really wants. And you're going to start doing stuff that's going to make that story come true. Because when you have a belief about yourself that is just so strong, your subconscious is always going to want to do things to keep in line with whatever it is it truly thinks about yourself. So if you think that you can't date a model and you start dating a model, your subconscious now has to do things so that way this situation gets sabotaged, so you can say to yourself, see, I knew I can never date a model, and even when I got one, I couldn't even keep her around. So that's just proof, because your subconscious is always going to go back to ultimately whatever you believe about yourself, which is why it is imperative that you're doing self-work in order to be able to get to a point where you no longer have dating dysmorphia and you start to believe that you are worthy of the dating life that you want, okay? So here is my 7-step cure to get rid of dating dysmorphia, because ultimately this is not where you want to be. You want to be able to have the kind of confidence about yourself and actually believe the kind of confidence about yourself to where when you're dating somebody that's in the high tens and has a good job and is a nice person, that you recognize you actually deserve that and that you are worthy of that kind of love. So the first cure, therapy. If you're one of those guys that's really, really deep into just constantly having negative self-talk and constantly not believing that you are worthy of these things, and you're worried about how you are being perceived in the world, recognize that your perception of yourself is not the only one. And therapy can really help you get out of that thought process. Okay, recognize that sometimes talking to somebody about these issues and getting an outsider's perspective can actually get your brain on track for you to recognize that you're a great person. So that's the first thing. Second thing is really pay attention to when negative thoughts start to pop in your head. And this can happen especially for a lot of guys that, used to be big and now they're skinnier. They might still have the thought process of a guy that's bigger and still have anxiousness or nervousness about them. And so you're going to start hearing your self-talk and hear things in your head like, this girl wouldn't date you, or she's no good for you, or how dare. And so when those things pop up, and they will pop up if you have dating dysmorphia, you need to stop, listen to what you're saying, and recognize something. Recognize that if you had a friend that was talking to you in the same negative way that you're talking to yourself, you would probably not be friends with that person. So why would you then allow your own self to talk to you that way? Okay? You're your first line of defense. You're your first cock blocker. So if you're the one that's saying negative stuff about yourself, you need to turn the ship around. You need to start learning to say more positive things to yourself. For every negative thing you hear yourself say like 5 things after that are positive. So if you hear yourself say, no girl's gonna want me, I'm so lame, start talking, but I'm a great guy to my friends, and I'm creative, and I make really good meals, and I know how to show people a good time, and I can make people laugh. But have like 5 or 10 things you can tell yourself every time that are positive so you can get out of this negative space. And over time, you'll start to say more positive stuff to yourself, more so than negative stuff. And that's going to get you into a more positive situation whereby you're going to believe that you are worthy of the kind of girls you want. The third cure for dating dysmorphia is to start looking for evidence that contradicts your thoughts. If you're a guy, for example, that thinks like girls don't want you, really start looking out and observing when girls are talking to you, when they're giving you the stare that indicates that they're interested, when they start flirting with you and being touchy with you. And then as you start actually asking women to hang out with you on dates and they're saying yes, you're going to start to realize that you actually are somebody that women would want to date. Okay? So you have to start looking for that evidence, because the more evidence you're able to build that shows that women do want you, then the level of dating dysmorphia you have is going to start to lower, because every time you think that every time you start doubting yourself and thinking that women aren't going to want you, you're going to have a stack full of evidence that shows the contrary. And that's going to allow you to believe this side, the positive side, more than the negative side. The fourth cure for dating dysmorphia is start to do the opposite of your normal dating urges. So when you have dating dysmorphia, you are going to feel urges to want to do a bunch of negative things that are going to push women away, or that aren't going to make you go out and seek the women you want. So for example, you might be one of those guys that's sitting home and saying, I should go out there and meet women. You're like, nah, I don't want to go out there and do that today because, I don't want to risk rejection or whatever. That's the time you need to get out of your seat, go out there and start talking to some people. If you're one of those guys, for example, that's saying, well, I want to do online dating, but, I'm afraid that, women are going to find my pictures ugly, blah, 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 then that means you need to get online and do online dating. And if you need help with that, you can go to smartdigitaldating.com/enroll and check out my program, Smart Digital Dating, which will actually guide you on the pathway to learn how to set up your bio, to learn what kind of pictures to use, to learn how women effectively like to date online, to learn what kind of first messages to send, how to keep a conversation going, all the way up to how to actually ask them out on dates, okay? All that's laid out for you. But the point is, you'll have a full blueprint of what to do, so you'll be less nervous. But regardless of whether you use my program or somebody else's, and again, you can check it out at smartdigitaldating.com/enroll to see what it has to offer. You need to start doing the opposite of what your urges are, because your urges right now are a result of dating dysmorphia, and they are keeping you single. The fifth cure for dating dysmorphia is to practice more positive strategies. So right now you have a strategy, and this goes across the board. So this means like simple things like, for example, your posture. Your posture right now is probably when you walk, you're probably slumped over a little bit, your shoulders are hanging low, and this is like a body position that is indicative of somebody that has low self-esteem about themselves. Just walking more upright, you're gonna find, is gonna make you feel more like a leader and feel more positive about yourself, okay? Simple things like, being aggressive towards your goals in life, actually going after what you want. When it comes to women, being able to actually start conversations versus waiting for them to start the conversation. These are all positive things that will net positive results and start to lessen your dating dysmorphia. The sixth cure for dating dysmorphia is to get out of your introvert bubble and start talking to more people and women. And this is especially true for introverts, because we already have a very, very small bubble of people that we trust and want to talk to. So you might have like 3 or 4 really good friends, and that's great. But if 2 of those friends are guys and say 1 or 2 of them are girls that wouldn't date you because they're just your friends, then you don't really have other people that you're talking to that are going to allow you to get out of that bubble and give you a chance to meet new people. So it's imperative that you go beyond just your 3 or 4 close friends and either have them start introducing you to people, start doing online dating, or when you're out in public, start being a little more open to conversations, especially conversations with women, whether it's at the grocery store, whether it's walking down the street. Like however you're running against women, you have other opportunities open to you to open up a conversation, okay? And I have a whole training at my website about how you can learn openers that'll actually work on women. So you can watch that and learn some of those things. But the point is, you have to open yourself up to the idea that in your own personal introvert bubble with your close friends, you're not going to meet women that are going to want to date you. You have to get outside of that bubble, whether it's through them or whether it's through other methods. But once you get out of that bubble and start meeting new women, you're going to start to see that women like new stimuli. Like you being the new stimuli in their life early on is going to actually give you more of an advantage with women that you're coming across for the first time than guys that they've known for years, okay? Women are typically trying to date guys outside of their circle too. So you want to try to meet women, you want to get out of there, you got to get yourself out there to do that. And then the seventh cure for dating dysmorphia is to remember this, is that oftentimes women are even more doubtful about themselves than you are about you. And you need to remember this, because part of dating dysmorphia is not thinking that you are good enough and that you have to be a perfect person in order for women to like you. And most women have so many hangups about their appearance, about their situation in life. They don't like the way they look. They don't like the way they feel. They're always questioning things and second guessing their things that they want to do in their life. So they come as a ball full of nerves for the most part, okay? But all that to say, they already know that they are not perfect. So in terms of the guy that they're looking for, most women are not looking for a guy that's 100% perfect in any way. Most women are just looking for a guy that's going to actually accept them with their flaws. So if you're coming with your own flaws, recognize that a woman that cares about you and loves you is going to love you, flaws and all. Now, that is not to say that you do not do self-work to try to remove certain flaws like anxiousness or nervousness or neediness. Like you want to constantly be working on your life goals and getting rid of any flaws in order to make yourself a better person, but you don't have to be 100% perfect for women to like you. And once you really get that concept that you don't have to be a perfect being and women will still want to date you, then it's going to be a lot easier. And as an older guy, I've been in plenty of situations where my situation in life wasn't exactly perfect, whether I wasn't making a lot of money, whether I didn't have a place to live, etc. And I was still, in all these situations, been able to date women, okay? So I have proven concept that shows that you do not need to be perfect in order for girls to like you. As long as you're treating them with respect and you're doing things to build their attraction level to the point where they like really want to get with you, then you don't have to worry so much about being perfect. And again, you can go to introvertdatingsuccess.com to look up all the various programs, the various eBooks that I have that will help you get rid of some of those viewpoints about yourself, okay? But ultimately, guy, If you have dating dysmorphia, recognize that it simply means that how you view yourself is causing you to sabotage. And once you get out of yourself and start doing some of this self-work and going through some of these things that I talked about to cure this dating dysmorphia, then you'll be able to have a more realistic view of your station in life, of where you're at, and how women view you, and you're going to be all the better for it. Thanks for watching this episode of the Introvert Dating Success Show. If you found the info in this episode to be helpful, please show your support by clicking on the tip jar tab, the link of which can be found at the website and in the description below. While there, you can also download a free copy of my ebook, Texting Like a Boss, where you'll learn the kinds of texts that really attract women. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment on this episode, and catch new episodes 7 days a week right here on YouTube or wherever podcasts can be found. In the meantime, be sure to check out some other episodes so that you too can learn to date as your introverted self while still getting your precious alone time. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace.